Welcome back to the series where I ask you guys in a community poll what your hottest take in Geometry is, and react to some of them in a video. If you enjoyed today's video, please remember to like and subscribe. Helps out the channel a ton, and you can always undo it later. And it helps support me dealing with all of this brain rot. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video. I think that the mod should have full control over rating levels. This would save Rob's time and likely allow the community to have a larger say in what gets rated. Okay, there's a good idea behind this, but simply just switching it over without making any changes to how the systems work would probably not be the greatest. Some moderators, like EVW, kinda just rate whatever they find that feels sort of finished to them. Kinda like, oh, this level doesn't really have any glaring issues with it, so I'll send the level. Whereas there's also some moderators that are like extremely elitist about the whole thing, and it feels like they just rate exclusively mid-generic glow levels made by creators that already have more than 5 creator points. So I think there should probably be some moderation of the moderators, if you will, if we were to switch over to this idea, but at the end of the day, it would probably be a better idea. Because right now, Rob Top basically has to work in overtime to like actually keep up with the community. Rob Top rated Hungry Humphrey because Kermal trapped him in the biggest prison in the whole world, collaboration with Mr. Beast? Adding 2.2 effects to 2.1 levels is almost always a terrible idea. Yeah, I kind of agree with this. I did make a whole video on adding 2.2 effects to definitively 2.1 levels. But yeah, I'd say this is generally just kind of a base take. I mean, you see stuff like Azure Flare and it just looks so out of place. Unless it's like meant to recreate something that you could already do in 2.1 but just easier, it kind of just throws you off because it's like one 2.2 feature in a completely 2.1 level. Lotus Flower and Sinister Silence are both mad underrated since they require a niche skill set, that fuck-ass ship part, and extreme nerve control. I don't know if this is the reason why they're necessarily underrated. Like, it's probably at least part of the answer, but I would imagine that it's also because neither of these levels really got too much attention from top players. Partially because niche skill set, but also partially because when these came out, I don't think either one of them was like in the top 20 even. Although I will say that Lotus Flower does have at least somewhat of a recognition because of, you know, the dual ship part. Oh boy, this is a long one, but it's about Cherry Team, so you have to pay attention. Cherry Team is good for the creating community. They put out levels where the decoration clearly has a ton of effort put into it by the entire team who works on it, and it usually turns out well. It shows what themed collabs should look like, cohesive and consistent in their theming. It gives less experienced creators a look at how to properly theme levels, and also having a team of a lot of the best creators in modern JD is just a great concept. Okay, I definitely agree that it's a good concept to have a giant creating team like this, and generally I do think Cherry Team is good for the community. I sometimes just wish that they prioritize their projects differently. Like, yeah, of course there's a whole meme about Cosmos Unleashed, but also they have a tendency to just take like a fuck ton of dead projects and try to revive them, and you don't really hear about it again. Not to say that they don't work on them at all, but there's like so many projects going on at once that it's just absolute chaos. I mean, I guess if it works for them, it works, but like, I'm pretty sure they took up the human limit, and it still feels like a dead project to me. I don't know, we'll see where they go in the future, but yes, I do think that they're generally good for the creating community. And I also will say, I do think it's a really good idea for them to try to make something easier, like an entry extreme, or even like in medium or insane demon, just so more people can enjoy these really well decorated levels. Injury is mad underrated. I don't really think this is like a hot take or anything, but I think it got around the amount of attention that it deserved, which I mostly just say because the level's like, what, like 40 seconds long or something? Also, I'm sorry, but the name is just kind of funny to me. Like, I know it's just named after the song, but to me, because the letters are spaced out, it just reads as injury in a super slow way, and it just feels kind of like almost satirical to me for some reason. And the idea of just being injured kind of feels like a bit anticlimactic compared to like, I don't know, Slaughterhouse or Abyss of Darkness. But I would agree in the sense that I think the level itself is pretty cool. I just think it already got like a fair amount of attention. And to be fair, I'm sure there will be more in the future when it gets verified. Stereo Extremeness is in the top 10 worst extremes in the game. Not necessarily controversial, but a lot of little kids will get mad at me for this. Based! Holy based! Listen, okay, I need to get this off my chest, alright? I don't think Stereo Extremeness is that good of a level, okay? It's stereo madness, but really hard, okay? Like, 50 billion people have already come up with this idea. Sure, Vortrox did it really well, and the level looks pretty cool, but it plays like dog shit, which is kind of the point anyways, so it's not a very good experience and not a very good extreme demon, okay? You can still like it, but like, bro, it is not that deep. It is just stereo madness, but an extreme demon. And I've tried to play it. I thought about beating it on stream because of the free views it would get, and I'm gonna be honest, I would rather shove uranium up my ass. Good wave gameplay is becoming increasingly hard to find. I feel like I'm the least qualified person to talk about if it's becoming increasingly hard to find, because every level I play is either below my skill level, and it doesn't matter to me if the wave gameplay is good or not because I'm cracked at the wave. Some would even say I'm wave carried. Some might go as far as to say I named my channel after the wave game mode, or it's like an extreme demon, so the gameplay by default is not going to be the most enjoyable for me. But if this is what you're experiencing, my guess is it might be because it's harder to structure wave gameplay, especially in modern standards, because it's all at an incline, it's all like with different slopes and stuff, which is harder to decorate than just like like a square or a rectangle. So it's possible that maybe affects how people structure their wave gameplay, I don't know. The demon list should merge with the all-rated extreme demon list, but only keep point score for the top 150. Unrealistic, but it would be nice. Yeah, honestly, I pretty much just absolutely agree with that. What feels really annoying to me is the fact that there's like 50 different demon lists for the same thing, and they all have like their minor quirks to it, and half of them are run by like super really annoying people who refuse to merge or endorse each other's projects purely out of ego reasons. But it would be really cool to see the demon list and the Eredal merge, even if that's just sort of like a distant dream for now. I mean, hey, we did say that 2.2 would never happen, and it did happen. It did take more than half a decade, but I mean, maybe it'll be more than half a decade until the demon list and the Eredal merge. I don't know. What, the level by Sputniks, of course, should be left as epic. It was built in 2.1, and all 2.2 did was open what up to other devices. Epic is the maximum rating a level can get in 2.1, therefore what should be left as epic. I think that's fair. I'm pretty sure there aren't any 2.0 or previous levels that are rated as epic, back before epic was even a thing. Zoink might be another Space UK, but people think he is legit, just like Space UK before Exposal. Ooh. I did literally make an entire what-if scenario on if Zoink was a hacker, so you can check that out if you want to, but honestly, I don't even really think that this is that possible. Because of the Space UK Exposal, I'm pretty sure that if Zoink was using a similar hacking method or another hacking method that we are already aware of, that pretty much it would have been discovered relatively easily. There's so many people that suspect Zoink of being a hacker just generally due to paranoia, so I think at this point it would have come out. However, I guess it is theoretically possible that he could be using some crazy new method that like works live and adds realistic clicks or something. Who knows, only time will tell, maybe someday you will be proven right. And then literally all of the comments on this video will be, oh my god, he predicted it! The number one player can very possibly have more power on the demon list than demon list mods. A clear example was Space UK long ago when he often said Slaughterhouse was harder than certain levels, and today Slaughterhouse is actually considered easier than those levels. I will say, I think that's with the exception of Scoop Circles, but yes. I feel like more or less this is true, but it's not really that big of a deal by itself, because obviously top players are going to have a pretty big influence over the entire top list, because they've played all the levels and can give placement opinions on them. What irks me more about it is that they can also just be completely biased towards their own levels. I also want to say, I absolutely fucking predicted this from day one, dude. I never really thought this Scoop in Circles was necessarily harder than Slaughterhouse, but I knew in my fucking bones that Abyss of Darkness was harder, and even more so with Acheron, and wouldn't you know it, both of those levels are above Slaughterhouse now. Same thing with Silent Clubstep, which I thought was top 1 on release, and then it was placed at what, like number 3? Listen, the 2022 version of Wavix was out of line, but I was right. EXO is 100% rate-worthy. I wouldn't argue if it was featured, to be honest. Oh yeah, for sure, it's not feature-worthy, obviously. I don't know how much I would really consider it to be, like, rate-worthy, though. Not because there's anything wrong with EXO itself, but mostly just because there are much better levels out there that haven't received a rate. Like, I'm kind of more of the opinion that if something is fully decorated, then it could just get a rate, and like, that's kind of whatever. Like, rate standards should be super low, but like, featured standards can stay where they are. But the person who created it is famous, and therefore it is automatically rate-worthy, so it's kind of jover. I don't think I would necessarily say it's rate-worthy above other levels that look similar to it. Let's be real, it just got rated because Carmel made it. If Tidal Wave was literally an auto level, it would have gotten featured immediately. Its gameplay isn't bad, therefore it should get featured. Listen, I think having high standards for the top level is a good thing, but at this point, when the level's already been verified, you might as well just rate it. Personally, I feel like Tidal Wave should have gotten a feature. I think it's unique enough to compensate for any of the issues that it has with its decoration, which in and of themselves are pretty small and generally not noticeable when looking through the level or playing with it, and generally speaking, top players who have beaten it have said that it plays pretty well, and it's more fun and accessible because it's 3 minutes instead of being exactly 1 minute long, with like 269 quadrillion frame perfects. So I guess I kind of agree. I do think Tidal Wave should have deserved a feature, but I could understand if a level has amazing gameplay and looks kinda not so great that it wouldn't get a feature, which I think would also just be an even larger problem if it was an auto level, because auto levels don't really have gameplay. Camera controls 9 out of 10 times make a level worse. I think it's fine if a level uses them very slightly, or if they use a camera change in a part with a small amount of gameplay, but I feel like a lot of the time it makes the gameplay worse. I can't describe why, I just think that it does that. I think it's because they're being overused. I have made one level that uses camera controls, and that is Swing Frenzy, and generally speaking, even though there are camera controls used in the level, they're used rather sparingly, and it honestly plays pretty well. I just think the main issue is that currently there are like so many camera controls in new 2.2 levels. It feels like a slightly more polished version of what happened in early 2.0. So I think this is true for now, but over time this will become less applicable to the community. Avernus is a good level, it's only treated like shit because because it was a top 1. Yeah, I agree with that, and it's based. Whether you like it or not, whatever the hardest verified level is going to be, to some extent, the face of the community. It's a showcase of what we can accomplish as a community and the hardest challenges we've been able to overcome. And if people feel like the creators just wanted a quick buck and they're using an alt account to avoid getting criticism for the level, yeah, people are gonna treat it like shit. Also, I don't think it's necessarily outstanding in any way, I just feel like it's okay as a level, but in the standards of being a centerpiece of the community, it's like a 3 out of 10. The deadlocked memory part is fun and easy. Ooh, okay. I do agree, but the transition into that part is dog shit. I feel like really long extreme demons are usually insanely slept on, and I've never understood why. Examples: Sinister Silence, Boogie, Calculator Core, etc. For some of them, it's definitely because they put you to sleep. That's why they're slept on. Like, Calculator Core is the exact same vomit for like 6 minutes. Although yeah, there are some extremely long extreme demons that are pretty underrated in my opinion. In this day and age, originality should be a bigger rate factor because of how many remakes there are. I swear some of you just say random based opinions that you have that aren't actually hot takes. I like completely agree with this, I just wouldn't call it like the biggest factor, I guess. Geometrical Dominator is really good, especially the dark memory part. I absolutely agree, but I do think that it should be rated with the insane face instead of the harder face, because I think that more effectively like reflects how difficult the level is because of that part. People shit on Generation Retro too hard. Like, sure, it's a bad level, but it was one of the creator's first levels ever. I doubt many people could do much better on their first or second levels at the time that the level came out. Stepping into the creator's shoes, it must have been painful to see GD: dedicate an entire video to shitting on a silly level made by you years ago, causing you to become a laughingstock in the giant community with tens of millions of members. I just feel really bad for the guy. Yeah, for the most part, I absolutely agree with this. This sort of reasoning is mostly why I don't really make negative level reviews anymore. Even when I have in the past year and a half or so, it's mostly just been aiming to be much more constructive like it was in the case with Cosmos Unleashed, or it's because I had a problem with the host directly like with Avernus. Don't get me wrong, levels like Riot's Demise and Aquamarine I still think are dog shit, but like, I don't really dedicate entire videos to those kinds of levels anymore, where it's just shitting on the level for the sake of shitting on the level. That's also why if I'm making a video that is structured in a way where I'm constantly criticizing something, the other party absolutely deserves it, like if they're hacking Eternus or if they're the real Mike. None of this is to say that I think GD: is like a bad person for making the video, but I do kind of wish that he structured it like a little differently. That being said, he's made it clear that like obviously he doesn't hold actual ill will towards the creator, so that's definitely helpful. So yeah, that's it for today's episode of Subscribers' Opinions. Comment down below what your hot take currently in Geometry is, and if you want to see more episodes of this series in the future. I know it's been a little while since we've done the last one, so yeah, I wanted to do one again, especially since like nothing's been happening in the community. If you enjoyed, please remember to like, subscribe, yada, you get the whole spiel. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye!